Hi, Mark here. Just wanted to show you how to use these transducers. The transducers that I'm using, these are the water-filled ones. These are actually LifeTech ones, but I believe that they are pretty similar to the ones that Labrie has. Each one of these is obviously a different transducer, and you have to hook up the cable to them. If you've never done that, it's very easy. Down here at the bottom of the transducer is where is it? There it is. Is the connector. The cable has this arrow on it, and it has to match up with this arrow on the transducer, and it's as easy as pushing it up. There you go, just that easy, and that locks in there. You can see this little arrow on the connector right here. You just turn that in that direction, and then it pops right off. And there's obviously one for each one, but it just pops in there like that. And you don't even feel a pop. It just, just snugs in there. This is upside down. This is a LifeTech transducer cartridge, and they come in a package. Obviously, they're single patient use. I've sort of modified this one because the LifeTech ones have a two-way stopcock on the bottom of them, but the Labries do not, if I'm doing this correctly. But they come with this little protective cover on the back of them, which has to be taken off. There's these little wings on the front of the cartridge that you have to kind of squeeze just a little bit, and then this little cover comes off the bottom of it, just like that. Once you do it, you'll say, "Oh, it's that simple," but it just comes off like that. The cartridge then, to take it off, there's again those two little wings. You squeeze those, and it'll just lift straight up. Then the new one, there's two ends. One is going to have the cap on it, and I believe the Labrie cap is a white one. It's a little different. And then this end is going to is where our tubing is going to go. But the thing is, you hold it by the one of those ends, and then gently slide it through the track, and you'll hear the click. Did you hear that? Let's do it again for fun. If you don't hear that click, then it's not seated on there correctly, but it's got to be there. Then we'll take our pressure measurement tubing, and this is actually a LifeTech one because I didn't have a Labrie one, but the only difference is the diameter of the tubing. But it's got a three-way stopcock on it, and then the end that goes to the patient. But what we're going to do is the end of the stopcock is going to go on the top of the pressure cartridge here. We take off the little end at the top using sterile technique, and then we take our stopcock, the end here, and we're going to just simply attach it to the top here and screw that on there just like that. I've done something crazy, but hopefully it'll work. If not, I'll remake this video. But I'm going to attach a syringe here to this end filled with water, sterile water. However, to make it easier to show up on everything, I've actually dyed the water blue so that we can all see it. I'm going to take off the cap off that end of the port, and I'm going to put my syringe filled with water. Again, you will be using regular sterile water, not blue water. I'm going to take the stopcock and close it off to the tubing that goes to the patient, because what we're going to do is we're going to flush the water through the pressure cartridge to get all the air out of that. I'm going to take off the cap on the bottom, and actually if you just loosen it so you don't lose it, but if you can take it off all the way if you want, but then if you just very slowly, very gently flush the fluid through the transducer till it comes out the other end, and then you seal off that cap at the bottom. Tighten this back up. We're not going to be taking this off again, but we now have fluid all the way through here, and these transducers are so nice, you just don't get air bubbles in them. They just work very well that way. Then we're going to take our stopcock, turn it off to the transducer, and then just very gently flush the water through your pressure tubing. And we're going to go all the way until we've got it all the way to the end here, and it just takes just a few cc's, and you've got the fluid then all the way to there. Now, again, the Laborie is a little bit different than this, but it's still, the principle is the same. The tubing is vented to air, so you don't have to worry about it. Now, the easiest thing that I do is I just lay this tubing over the top, over the top of the transducer right here, because that way then where the tubing goes to air, it is at the same level of the transducer. And this is the position that you want to have it in when you, let me take that back, because what we want to do is close off our stopcock to the syringe, stopcock off to the syringe, so that now the pressure transducer is open all the way to the end of the pressure tubing. So we have oh, you know what I'm trying to say. So now what we have then is the transducer is open all the way through the pressure tubing all the way to the end of the tubing. This is open to air. This is the position that you want everything at when you're ready to zero your transducer. So you start your program, get it all recording, get it all open to air, just like it is here, the stopcock close to the syringe, and this is where you zero all. If you raise this up and down, you will get a change of pressure on your readings. Then this is the end that you're going to attach to the patient's catheter, and then you can use this syringe here to flush the tubing. You know, because you want to flush it with water. So close it off to the stopcock. Use this syringe, flush this water through the tubing to get any air that might be left over in the tubing, which you should have had out all the way anyway. But it's going to then also flush your catheter to get any remaining lubricant, air bubbles that's in the catheter, anything like that. You can also use, I usually use about half of it when I do that, even though the literature says use the whole thing, but I use about half of it because that's more than enough. And then I've got additional water there to that I can use to flush the catheter again later should my catheter start, you know, not working quite the way that I want it, because then I have just a couple of cc's left over. But again, when you're actually, this is for flushing it, but then you have to put it back so that the stopcock is in the closed position to the syringe, so that it's open and will actually measure what's going on in the patient's bladder. It's not complicated, but if you've never used it, it's always a little bit daunting. And then remember, when you're actually doing the procedure, the transducers have to be at the level of the patient's bladder. And the easiest way to do that is just move it to the level of the symphysis pubis or the greater trochanter on their hip. And again, I've only showed this using one transducer. You're going to be also using it for the abdominal catheter, and if you do an UPP, you're going to do that on all three of them. So I hope this helps. If you have any questions, give me a call. Again, remember, you're not going to be using blue water. You're going to be using sterile water for irrigation. One thing that I've done is I've also recommended that if it's cost-effective for them, like in a hospital, to use those pre-filled syringes that are pre-filled with 10 C's of normal saline like they use for IV flushes. My assumption is they can get those fairly cheap because, you know, they buy millions of them at a time, but it's just up to them. Some places don't seem to care if there's additional expense. They want to keep it simple. So if you have any questions, give me a call, and hope this helps out. Thanks.